Reta Jo Lewis is running for mayor of Washington, D.C. If you've met the savvy, sophisticated government exec before, you wouldn't have been surprised by the announcement back on November 2nd. Today is just 34 days before the primary on April 1st, and we had the privilege of sitting down with Reta to talk to her about her career, her long-term goals, and why she decided to throw her hat into the race for mayor of Washington, D.C. You are watching the Truly Amazing Women TV show. I'm Hope Katz-Gibbs, founder and president of Incandescent Public Relations, and your host for the Truly Amazing Women TV show. So welcome, Reta.
Thank you, Hope. I'm really glad to be here with you this evening.
Thank you. So we talked to you last when you had some big government jobs. You were, I'm going to try and get this right, the Special Representative for Global Intergovernmental Affairs at the State Department. You were also the president of Executive Women in Government, and you're still involved with that organization. Yes. And back then you offered our Be Incandescent magazine readers 10 tips for attaining a successful government career, which was a very, very popular issue. So what made you decide to run for mayor?
You know, Hope, I really appreciate having the opportunity to sit here with you today. I was traveling the world as the Secretary of Special Representative for Global Intergovernmental Affairs, and I'm working with state and local officials every day, and not only ones here in the United States, but with their counterparts abroad. And you know, I'm out talking about some key foreign policy priorities of our U.S. government, about openness and transparency and accountability. And you know, when I would get out there, I would realize, I would look at the internet, or I'd hear the news back home, and what was happening right here in my own hometown that I've loved and lived in for 35 years, we were not open, we were not being transparent, we were not being accountable. And there was just so much about a continuation of an era of corruption. And I just decided, you know what, it was really now time for me to just take a real hard look of, did I want to continue at the end of my tenure at the State Department to continue in public service. And I just thought that this would be just an excellent way for me to continue the work that I've done, working with state and local officials, and really helping the District of Columbia and all of its citizens and all of its residents solve some of the key problems that so many of the residents have talked about with me over this several months period.
Very cool. So when you win in April, what will be on your agenda?
Well, you know what, after traveling around for, you know, I was in 5 countries, and 22 countries and over 5 continents, you know, it was really, really clear to see the similarities of work that residents, that citizens have, that they want to have their government help them with. But when I came here and started traveling all of our wards, we have 8 wards in DC, and just going around talking to the citizens, it didn't matter where you were, it was 3 or 4 main themes that always really came up. You know, what I'm really passionate about is that for us to be a world-class city right here in the nation's capital, the home of the leader of the free world, we must end the era of corruption that overshadows our DC government. We cannot be the kind of place that we want others to emulate if we do not end that pay-for-pay culture here. And so one of the things that I have said is that, number one, I definitely want to support, you know, putting the Attorney General on the ballot. The reason being is that in 2010, over 90,000 residents said that was one of the key things that they wanted to do, to have an official that responds directly to them, answers only to them. And that's been something that our current political establishment has fought against. You know, working around making sure that we are able to diversify our economy. And when I talk about that, is that, you know, we sit here in the nation's capital, and DC has been a place that, you know, the federal government has been the great source of jobs, federal government and city government jobs. But you sit here in a new economy, and we can't rely on that. We had sequestration. We saw how many jobs we lost there. We saw the closing down of the government. We saw how many jobs and what we lost there, and what impact it had on our DC economy. And so right now, when we sit in Washington with the best and the brightest, it is about how do we diversify our economy, not away from just the government jobs, but also about the knowledge-based jobs.
Let's talk a little bit about that amazing career. I'm looking at one of your flyers, and it lists your amazing resume. 35-year DC resident, of course. You served under Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton and President Barack Obama. You worked for President Bill Clinton as Special Assistant for Political Affairs. You were National Tour Director for Nelson Mandela's USA Tour. And you were the first female executive at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the list goes on and on of the amazing things. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Well, you know, the most important thing is that after 35 years, it's all about having the qualifications and experience to run for an office like the mayor. Having worked, and one of the things that I'm just so proud of is the connection that I've always had to my local community. Having served early in my career as a chief of staff in DPW, which is the Department of Public Works, I like to say to people, well, number one, not only was it the second largest agency in DC government at that time, but everything you look at, everything you touch was all about how do you deliver services directly to the residents. It's about cleaning up the snow, it's about the streets, it was about the water, it was about the traffic, it was about recycling. Everything that you can just imagine came within that department, and so I was very honored to have been able to work in that administration. And then right before going into the State Department, I had an opportunity to serve as the chair of Women and Girls here in the District of Columbia. We had a lot of great successes. We were able to bring back a lot of partnerships and a lot of collaborations with organizations, whether it was breast cancer research, it was the Women's Agenda, it was BET, I mean, you name it. All over the city, we were able to work with just numerous women's organizations and organizations that had an impact on issues around homelessness, impact on issues around housing, affordable housing, so that everybody can have the right and opportunity to have a great roof over their house. But also from a women's perspective, here in DC, 50% of the population is made up of women. And so we wanted to make sure that women had a seat at the table. And so being able to work with agencies at that time to ensure that issues that I'm also passionate about that are the number one priority for people here in the district is about affordability. Affordability of a home, not just for low and moderate income women, but also for seniors, also for our young people who are living 5 and 6 deep in these homes. And so when I look at that local work and having done that national work, it was all combined. There was a certain level of connectivity. When I worked nationally, not only as a lawyer, but working at places like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, having the ability to work with business, having to becoming one of the Chamber's experts around women and minority business and small business, who we know are the great creators of the jobs. We know that they're the fastest growing businesses in America. We know that in an economy like DC, we need to have a strong working class of individuals, but not just working class, but also entrepreneurs.
So we were at the Miss DC pageant as judges, and we interviewed one of the former Miss DC, Sonia Gavankar. And but as a judge on the panel, there were 4 of us, and we were talking to these lovely women. And the question that kept coming up was, which is quite a contrast to where you are right now, but was statehood for DC. So we're going to ask. We asked these girls, and now I'm very curious to hear what you think.
No, first of all, you know, DC as a city operates as a city, a county, and a state. You know, I believe that no one has the kind of experience that I've had because I've worked with the county officials, I've worked with mayors at the city, and I've worked with governors. Because when I was at the State Department, we were signing agreements with governors with their counterparts in China and Russia, Brazil, and India. But also, I could see the governors as they came together. I could see the mayors as they came together. One of the things, and the legislators as they came together, one of the things that was really clear for me about self-determination and DC's fight for it is that we have to broaden our reach in who we're talking to. It is not just important that we must be talking to Congress and the relationships that we have there. We have to be out in the cities, we have to be out in the states, we have to be out in the counties because their legislators respond to them. And we have to educate those leaders that DC does not have its right over its own, you know, over the way it governs itself from a totality perspective. However, in recent years, in working with people like Eleanor Holmes Norton in the DC Vote and all of the different organizations that have been so important about pushing self-determination, it just says that we need a leader who can push it not just nationally, but also internationally. Do you know that the majority of people in America and the majority of people around the world do not even know that DC does not have voting rights?
I believe it.
And so with that is like, what is the campaign that you have seen that has been on the rise lately? But it's like now it's about leadership. It's about taking it all to a whole nother level because it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight for us to continue to have that ability to govern ourselves. And why shouldn't we? As we all like to say, it's our tax dollars.
So you're clearly passionate about everything that you touch. What do you love about what you do?
You know, the thing that has always, I think, been like so warms my heart, I would say, on a regular basis is that I always love the ability to work with women and girls. And when I chaired DC's commission, it was like a little sleepy little commission, and we really, had the mayor basically, Fenty, who allowed us to select, along with his recommendations, of course, without recommendation, his selection, to make a full-fledged commission, and that was about being an advocate. What I find about residents right now as I travel around Washington, they just want somebody that they feel like they can trust. They want somebody who they feel is not going to leave them behind, because they feel like we sit in Washington, we talk about a lot of great things, all the great prosperity, all the new people moving in, but in Washington, we sit here with a lot of inequalities. We have an inequality in education. We have some inequalities, of course, around housing. We have inequalities around the ability for us to get the job done in a number of areas. We sit here and we have not ended chronic homelessness. We are sitting here with agencies in our federal government, with an administration that says we want to put all our forces behind, especially around issues around kids. We sit in Washington where 600 kids are sitting in homeless shelters and have to wake up and go to school every day. How can they really be, the vibrant young people, and making sure that the educators who are there preparing them to be the productive leaders that we need them to be? So the things that I'm passionate about is what I like to fight for. Issues around education. When I talk to moms, they say to me, you're getting the pre-K thing right in DC, you're getting the elementary thing right in DC, but they're terrified when it comes to middle school. They're terrified when it comes to high school. So one of the things that I see is that we have to keep putting priorities in our education system. We have to keep putting our priorities on our middle school. We can't give up on those young people. They are our future here in DC, and that's not even a cliche. It is the truth. But we have to prepare them. If they want to go to college, we should be preparing them to go to college. If they don't want to go to college, we want to make sure that they don't drop out. Make sure that they then have the kinds of skills and training and vocational to take advantage of these great jobs here in Washington, D.C. So I would say it's about being an advocate. It's about, when I work at places like the Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, being the first African-American officer there in the 90-year history of an organization that is the voice of business. It did give me the ability, when President Obama was first elected, to become the Obama-Biden Transition Director for Business. And so it just, I say that you have to look across the positions that you have, the opportunities that you have, and then how do you take all of that and marry it to bring it to a local level, to say you can do and bring your skills and qualifications to assist and push a city, to push a government, to help our residents move to the next level.
So what one leadership lesson do you have for our readers and our listeners and our viewers?
Hope, I would say it has to be, you got to be transformative, but in doing that, you got to lead from the top. It's an old Marine saying, you got to lead from the top, and you got to lead by example. And but you got to bring people along, because it's all about teamwork. And so I think as women, as leaders, it's about how we set the example at the top in everything we do, in our ethics, in our integrity, in our work product, our work ethic, just making sure that we just work hard and do the right thing, and just really be there about service. It's about serving others and not about serving ourselves.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us, Rita. We really appreciate it. You are one of our 3 pilots for the Truly Amazing Women TV show, and we are thrilled to have you here. We wish you all the best on April 1st.
Well, you know what? We got 34 days, as you said. April 1st is the election. And, we're out battling every single day, just saying to people, we asking for, we want to earn their vote. And then we want them to go out and vote early and vote for Reta Lewis.
Well, we're going to come back when you are mayor, and we'll interview you then. We leave you with this parting thought, as we do at the end of each episode, from a truly amazing woman who we think embodies the woman that we've just interviewed. So in Reta Jo Lewis's case, it's Ella Fitzgerald, who said, "You don't give up trying to do what you really want to do. Where there is love and inspiration, I don't think you can go wrong." And clearly, your career has been a testimony to that.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's
thank
my
you so much.
pleasure.
Thank you, Hope.
You are watching the Truly Amazing Women TV show. I'm Hope Katz-Gibbs, your host. We look forward to talking to you soon.